Hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of Midweek Matters. I'm James Graham, joined by Charlie White as always.
James Graham, how are you?
I'm doing very well, mate. Great to see you back.
Great to see you. It's been we haven't seen as much of each other the sort of last week, have we?
No, I've heard a lot about you though.
Such as?
Oh well, leading story off the news all week in Sydney is you got a bit of the sniffles coming back from
Auckland.
From Auckland.
I think I ate a dodgy chicken on the plane back or something, and it knocked me around for a couple of days.
Yeah, the old dodgy chicken after 3 days away. And even before you went away, it was a bit like, Jesus, Charlie, people have flown and gone overseas for work in the past.
No,
you weren't carrying on.
I wasn't
like
carrying
you were the
on.
first bloke
I barely
to
said
ever...
anything about it, to be honest. I barely said anything.
Charlie, I can remember the day before you went.
Yeah.
You had a fair bit on.
Yeah, I had like 5 podcasts on that day before I went.
Oh, don't I know? Our audience members already know because you've been It's been the leading story. There's been like a GoFundMe page.
Peter Overton's been talking about it.
Yeah, on News Tonight, it's Charlie White has five podcasts. I was trying to talk to you on the phone. You're okay, I got to go now. I was like, and that makes me want to stay on the phone even longer. See,
well, you always do. I know that you do that as well. You try and keep me on the phone for as long as you possibly can sometimes.
Because I can only when I know you're flapping. Because
I'm not a flapper.
You are a flapper.
I'm not a flapper. It offends me that you call me a flapper. I'm the furthest thing from a flapper.
Well, you survived New Zealand.
I did survive it. But speaking of 5 podcasts as well, we've actually recorded 5 podcasts today, haven't we?
Yes, that's right. Really genuinely excited about this.
Yeah.
We've got the Rugby League Roundtable. I think that's the name.
That's the name. Yeah, that's the name.
Coming out in the
off season.
In the off season, so that'll be replacing Midweek Matters.
Yeah,
where
I get demoted.
You get demoted. You're booted.
Yeah. It's worth it. Me booting me though.
Yes, it is. Let's
really
not mention the guest. We're going to be.
I think we can mention the guest.
No, let's keep it a bit of intrigue.
Okay, I'll say this. It's an NRL coach, one of the big NRL coaches. It's an executive.
Not big in size.
Not big in size, big in name, big in the club they coach, big in performance. And the executive has been the CEO of 3 NRL clubs. The journalist who's representing the media. So I should say, we've got a coach, a current player, an executive, a media representative, and then you're the host / expert, ex-footy player. So yeah, the coach, as I said, the executive, 3-time CEO, the media representative, in my opinion, probably the leading NRL journalist in the game, the big dog. Won't reveal who that is just yet, but you can imagine. And then the player is a man who's won premierships. He's probably played close to over 250 games, I imagine.
Represented
New South Wales.
Yes.
He's a fantastic football player. Currently playing at a Sydney club.
Yeah, very excited for our listeners to consume this content.
And so it's a 10-part series, and each show has like a different big issue attached to it. So if you think the 10 biggest issues in the game, every episode will cover all the angles of rugby league on that issue.
Yeah, from each perspective. So really excited. Like it was fascinating conversation. So I think
it's gonna be the best shows we've done, honestly. So tune in, everybody.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited to record part 2.
Yeah.
And some of the other episodes, but this is going to be awesome. Really looking forward to you guys listening to it. So,
and we'll still have 3 shows a week during the off season because the interview show is carrying on, and then there's going to be an opinion show as well each week.
Yeah, maybe a bit of me and Cheese, a bit of me and Charlie.
Yeah,
there's plenty of Well, Cheese might be in international camp, so that'll be difficult.
I'm going to Europe for a couple of weeks. I'll have a couple of weeks off.
Oh, the buy round will completely just fizzle out if you're not around, Charlie.
No, but Rockbusters though, Jimmy, what have you got then?
Well,
for this
don't you
week?
need to give the answers?
Yes. So my one was the top of his field and the top of the world, which everyone's realised Bradman Best. We knew that last week though. You got that one. And then the one I had last week was, oh no, I've made the same mistake. I've forgotten to buy the sausages, which is Egan Butcher, as in same mistake again, Egan, very similar. And where do you get your sausages from? You get it from the butcher, Egan Butcher. And a lot of people got that correct. So well done to everybody.
A lot of people are officially crazy.
Well, they've done it though. They got it correct. So
I reckon I had some time to think about this. You told me off the air. I wouldn't have got that, but
you wouldn't have got it because you're not very good at the game you created.
Yeah, I didn't create it. Carl Pilkington
No, but
did.
you brought it to the show. You're not very good at it. The listeners are better. I'm better. Tony's better.
Yeah. I came in for all that criticism on G Shadow Car.
Yeah, that was rubbish.
Or G add-on car.
Yeah.
You just taking the piss.
Shout out to Adam Ibrahim as well, who's won a signed Tui's hat.
Ooh. I didn't know this was part of the prize.
No, but
what's the prize this week?
The prize this week is, we'll go back to the traditional buy around t-shirt. That's up for grabs.
All right, cool.
So what do you got for us, Jimmy?
I've got two. I don't know which one to do for the listeners and which one for you. So, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I'll do this first one for you.
Okay. It's a hard one, isn't it?
It's not. I lost one of my bollocks, but now I've got two.
Okay.
I lost one of my bollocks, but now I've got two.
Lost one of my bollocks and now got two. So I'm thinking surgery. You've had surgery. You're 1.5. You're a half.
You're way off.
Half penny. Bollocks. Testicles. I'll have to have a think about that during the show.
You have a think. Right. Okay, so the one for our listeners. Dwayne Johnson.
I've got mine. It's Tessie New.
Yeah!
He's getting good.
Yes!
I like it. Tessie New.
Yeah, he's lost one of his bollocks.
Yeah, I like it, yeah.
And now he's got two.
Done it again. At the start, back-to-back
Charlie,
times.
congratulations.
Thank
That
you.
is
Thank you.
outstanding work from you. Thanks for interrupting the...
that's all right. I had to.
Yeah. Dwayne Johnson. He's pondering what a cherry is.
Dwayne Johnson's pondering what a cherry is. Interesting.
Dwayne Johnson is pondering what a cherry is. He thinks about it and then gives the wrong answer. That's it. Sorry, that's the right clue. Dwayne Johnson is pondering what a cherry is.
Yeah.
He thinks about it and then gives the wrong answer.
Interesting. Wow.
I'll tell you off the air about what that one is.
Well, let's rip into the footy, Jimmy. Let's start the show as we always do.
How do you feel, Jimmy? Let's find out. Thanks to Tui's.
And Jimmy, we've got to obviously talk about the preliminary finals. It's the only place
we
to
do.
start. Two big games. We've got the Penrith Panthers against the Melbourne Storm on Friday, and we've got the Broncos against the New Zealand Warriors on Saturday. Prelim finals, you've played in a lot of these. How does it sort of differ to a grand final? Because you hear a lot of footy players talk about this game being harder than the grand final, being one that there's more nerves. It's sort of like once you get to the grand final, there's more of a sense of relief.
Yeah,
how is it
you
different?
want to be a part of the big dance, no doubt about that. And there's that a lot of pressure going into these games. Like you're obviously aiming to win the grand final, but you don't want to have your hiccup now. You realize just how close you are to being on the big stage. No one remembers the teams that go out at this stage. So. A lot of nerves, a lot of pressure. Obviously, Penrith Panthers will be favourites. They've been around these games for a long time, as have the Melbourne Storm. So I can't envisage a reason for one of these two teams losing the fact that this is new territory for them. That said, with the Warriors and the Broncos, these are both the new kids on the block. So I'm kind of glad that they're both facing one another, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Where you've got the two new kids, so... They're both in the same boat, and obviously with the Panthers and the Storm, it's the same. Because you'd hate to see, say for example, week one of the finals where the opposite games were played, where they just had a wobble because they've not been there before for quite some time. So but two matches that I keep tossing and turning about who's going to win. Obviously, I've made some predictions. I'm going to go with where I assume the game will go, but this is finals, and first thing is like, well, how dare you write off the Melbourne Storm? We've done this before. We fell into this trap multiple times, and then the Warriors, they've had their day in the sun. The grand final was their home semi against the Knights last week.
Which there is something to be said about that, because I was there at that game and the atmosphere was insane. It felt like a grand final. Like, it would be hard to come down off that game, then coming back up for this game, flying over here. There is something to be said for that. In 2012 and 2014, were you guys favourites in both those games?
I think in 12 we were, in 14 we weren't.
Yeah, because it was kind of like an underdog run to the grand final, wasn't it? Yeah.
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 And then I think in 12 we played South Sydney, which was two of the heavyweights going up against one another.
Yeah.
But these two, looking on the Ladbrokes app, like, they've got them quite far apart.
Yeah, they're massive favourites.
And I'm in that chain of thought. But that said, I'm like, well, mate, you don't fall into the trap. And I've taken the bait. I'm in.
Yeah.
But I think the Warriors game in particular, it is going to be a lot closer. And obviously, at a time of recording, Jerome Luai's name to play, I just don't know. And I just don't know if Melbourne will come up with a real detailed game plan on how to either A, get at Jerome Luai, or B, look to try and exploit Jack Cogger being involved, and see how that pans out.
Well, let's focus in on that game, Panthers and the Storm. You're right. It's a tale of two Jeromes, really. Luai's back, Hughes is back. It's an interesting one with Luai. Like, how big a risk is it bringing him back for a game like this? Because the Panthers have they looked brilliant in week one of finals. They were brilliant in the last game, cup games of the season. Cogger played as well. Like, did they need to rush Luai back? This injury, it's meant to be 6 weeks, and he's come back in 4.
Well, the level of injury reoccurrence and then increasing the severity of the injury significantly increases with Jerome playing, and such a short time frame as well. And he's going to know Melbourne are going to be all over this. I'd love to see how quickly Jerome, if he does play, how quickly it would have been had this been regular season, and the obvious implications of it going again. People compare it to Cronk, but Jerome Luai and Cooper Cronk are completely different players.
It's also a completely different injury, in my opinion. Cooper Cronk's playing with a broken larynx or whatever you call it, shoulder, broken shoulder, not larynx.
Different injury, and different style of players. So I just don't know. I wonder how Jerome and his movement patterns on the field will be affected by this, and the positions that he usually puts himself in. He's an all-action, all-in style of player that runs, steps off both feet. When he gets tackled, he's fighting to play the ball, and some of those positions that his shoulder will just naturally fall into, I think, increase the risk. It's not necessarily about making tackles. It's not about having Big Nelson run at him. For me, it's more about when he's getting tackled. It's not about when he's performing the act of tackling. So a lot to be made of it. And for me, the issue isn't even can Penrith win. Say if it happens in the first minute, like the Coggers on the bench, they can win.
Exactly. They've got Cogger on the bench.
But they can win with 16 players. That's not an issue for them. It's just about whether or not Jerome Luai can get through the game and then play next week. And then also it's more about, I don't even think it's about him playing next week. It's about him not re-injuring. And the psychological battle that that he'll have, and just because
you played with Gareth Widdop, who had a shoulder injury. He sort of tried to come back early, didn't he?
Yeah,
and he did it again.
Yeah,
he was never the same player after that, was he?
No, he really struggled with it, and obviously the mental toll that took on him was very significant. Jerome, who's off contract next season, managing himself by all accounts. So there's a lot going on in that young man's head to figure out. And obviously we put playing and winning on such a pedestal, we sort of sacrifice a little bit of our future. But I wonder just how much that has played on the mind of Jerome Luai this week.
And he's a competitor, Jerome Luai. He cops a lot of criticism for the stuff he says, but he cares so much about how his team performs, and he wants to be there for the big moments. He's a big game player, and he'll be desperate to play.
Matt, and you see even just the way he throws himself into a try celebration. Like he can't be doing that with this shoulder. Like he'll have to change his natural reaction when it comes to Penrith scoring. But I still feel Penrith will be significant favourites. But basically, again, talk about that falling into a trap of what the Melbourne Storm have done. They're still a top 4 team. They don't seem to have that same reputation that they had from when I was playing. That that Melbourne style of tackle where you knew you were in you could play against the Storm, close your eyes and know who you're being tackled to. You could with a high degree of accuracy. I feel that's a Melbourne tackle because of just the numbers that they put in, the positions that they have you in, the slowness of the play of the ball. But that seems to have gone. Brisbane dismantled their middle, and Roosters missing a couple seem to get through their middle as well. So I don't know how they change that around. And arguably the best come through that middle third of the field team in the Penrith Panthers with their back 3, followed by Leota, Fisher-Harris, and then the deception of Isaiah Yeo with his footwork and his ability to drop players off and bring players underneath. Then you've got Spencer Leniu coming on the bench. I don't know how Melbourne counteract that. And I guess what you'd do is you'd look and see where other teams have managed to exploit them. One of them being Parramatta, and a lot of the time it's the kicking game of Mitchell Moses, which has been vital in those victories. Obviously, the grand final last year, they just started like a house on fire. Para couldn't come with them, but I think for Melbourne, they have to do something different, and Jerome Hughes simply has to play, and he has to have the best kicking game of his life if Melbourne have any opportunity to win.
It's actually just an incredible achievement that they've got there, Jimmy. When you think about they lost the Bromwich brothers, Kaufusi, like they've lost so many key forwards, Brandon Smith as well.
Well, that as well. So for a long time there, Melbourne had Harry Grant and Brandon Smith, like 2 of the best hookers in the comp. They had Nico Hines and Ryan Pappenhausen. Like they had players competing for positions. They had Dale Finucane and Jesse Bromwich and Kenny Bromwich and Felice Kaufusi. They had all these uber competitive players competing for positions within the team, and they just don't have that now, where they had those young up and comers coming through, applying pressure. Like imagine having that as a decision, Hines or Pappenhausen. Now obviously due to
Drinkwater. It was one point it was Hines, Pappenhausen, Drinkwater.
Yeah. Harry Grant or Brandon Smith. Right, we'll find a way to get them all in. All these competitive top level players, they just don't have that anymore.
It's a shame that they came up against Penrith when in that sort of era. I know they won a premiership against Penrith 3 years ago, but they probably look at that team that they had and they probably could have won a couple more comps.
Yeah.
Just Penrith's just too good. Miles ahead. And then the other thing for the Storm that they've struggled this finals is they've only scored 3 tries in those 2 games. Their attack has sort of been non-existent. And then you come up against the best defense of the last few years against Penrith. It's going to be tough for them to score points.
And their right edge, Melbourne Storm, got picked apart by Roosters, especially in yardage. And when you look at how Penrith they usually do come through the middle, but watch them to shift to their left-hand side versus Melbourne's right.
Well, the Panthers and Storm players, they've all earned themselves a Tuies or 2.
Haven't
that's
they
for
just?
Sure. And we should say a big thank you to Tuies for this segment. How do you feel? I feel like a Tuies or 2. But you've got the Penrith Panthers winning comfortably.
Yes, absolutely, I do. We're going to take a quick break from the podcast to tell you about AG1, the daily foundational nutritional drink with all your needs in the one place. I like to look after my health, and AG1 takes care of that for me. No more tablets, vitamin pills, all the health nutrition I need, all in the one place. Every single morning, it's as easy. Open up the fridge, scoop of AG1 in a glass, cold water, stir it with a fork, drink it. It tastes great, and it helps me know. It gives me the peace of mind that all my nutritional needs are taken care of, all in the one drink. It really is as simple as that. And also, anybody that knows anything about health benefits knows that it comes with adding simple routines to your day. It's not about magic pills. They're not going to work. AG1 helps me be the best version of myself by having this new habit of every single morning having that drink. I know my nutritional bases are covered thanks to AG1. A lot of athletes are now taking AG1 And with 75 high-quality ingredients, it's no wonder why. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/buyround. That's drinkag1.com/buyround. Check it out.
Well, let's move to Saturday night then, Jimmy. The Broncos against the Warriors. You're right, two teams who haven't been here for a little while. The Broncos, they've got their first prelim since 2015 when they made the grand final. The Warriors, it's been a long time since they've been in the prelim final, but they're coming off a game at home where they dominated the Knights. It was such an incredible atmosphere. That whole country's behind them. Like driving out there to the stadium, on the radio, they're talking about if rugby league is now the national sport over union.
Wow.
Like it's incredible.
Whilst the Rugby Union World Cup's going on as well, there's normally never a greater wave of support for the All Blacks, and rightly so.
Yeah.
I think it's remarkable what that organisation has managed to do in such a short period of time.
Yeah, it's really well. Cameron George, he spoke to Triple M as well at the end of the game. He's so well spoken. The vision they've got for the club is incredible. Even, I know Chi said on this podcast as well, I'm with Vodafone, Up the Wires comes up at the top of your,
That's pretty cool.
phone when you get there. It was great. It was a great atmosphere. It was great fun to be there. Auckland's a cool city as well. It's a good place. But the Broncos, they're well rested and they come into this game just so full of confidence.
Yeah, they're coming in hot. There's so much to like about this Brisbane team. There really is. They're fresh. I think they had a bye round 19, round 25. Obviously, then they rested players round 27. They had the week. They earned the week off, so they're fresh. They're just going to be relentless. Such a strong middle third, strong back carries, great halves pairing, strike on an edge. You know, experienced halfback with obviously then the brilliance of Reece Walsh out the back. It's hard to find any form of weakness. I think for me, the Warriors will come and put up a fight. They'll look to apply pressure. They know the advantage of the home crowd. And look, I know there's a lot of Warriors supporters up there in Queensland, but they're going to be outnumbered by the Broncos fans, undoubtedly. They need to take the crowd out of it. They need to apply pressure to the Broncos with strong defence, but the Broncos will find a way to get points. And I really like what they've produced. Broncos have passed every single test so far this year, and I expect that to continue this week.
I think this will be a close game, though. Like the forward packs match up really well. Thomas Flegler up against Fanua Blake, Walters Egan.
I think from a Warriors perspective, that's how they win, and it's with Wade Egan. Like he has to have man of the match. Like a lot of the attention on Sean Johnson, the two experienced halfbacks. But I think if you're looking at it, where the Warriors have a slight advantage, probably in that dummy half position. Yep. And Wade Egan, I think it was spoken about. He's in line for dummy half of the year and Dally M hooker of the year, and I think that I'd certainly support that. He's been phenomenal.
Yeah, he's kicked on really well since leaving Penrith over there in New Zealand. Like he's going really well. But so it's Payne Haas and Flegler against Fanua Blake and Barnett. I actually think the Warriors have the edge in the back row with Jackson Ford and Murad Niokore. But not only that, you've got on the bench they've got Josh Curran who they can bring to the game, and Bailey Sirenen.
I like it when Dylan Walker comes on.
He's been so good in that role.
Such good versatility. Yeah. When he comes on that field. Again, look at mismatches, probably the centre pairings. Like with all due respect to the Warriors pairing in Rocco Berry and Pompey.
Yep.
Probably Farnworth and Staggs get the nod over them, so they need a big night, defence on an edge, and it probably. Sean Johnson's been spectacular this year at pulling people out of position and people out of shape and making them make defensive reads. I reckon Staggs and Farnworth are a real class above that. Mm-hmm. So that game on the weekend, Egan Johnson and a few others, they provided the final pass with the shape, but it was all so the Fanua Blake try, for instance, Frizzell's come in on the on the lead of Ford and opened up that space for Gamble on the outside. But I don't know if the Broncos edge defense will make those reads. And even the Warriors, the first try of the game, it was a poor read. I think it was from maybe Bradman Best, just went in a little bit, and then he got caught on the outside by Nickel Cluckster. It's like, well, I don't know if this Broncos team are going to give you those opportunities and be pulled apart just quite as easily as what the Newcastle Knights did.
Yeah, because they're actually a really good defensive team as well, the Broncos. Like, they held the Melbourne Storm to nil in week 1. But there's another little storyline, the Reece Walsh revenge game. He obviously left the Broncos to go to the Warriors, and then he left the Warriors to come back to Brisbane. Most of this team, they would have played with him last year. And I mean,
strange, isn't it?
They will know his weaknesses. They will know how to get under his skin.
Yeah, again, there's another tactic where we have seen Reece Walsh react on the football field. Like, there
was even a couple of moments in that first week where he did that chip and chase when they were up.
Yeah.
He did some sort of plays that make him the player he is, those flashy plays, but it wasn't the right time for it. And it's dangerous in finals to make those plays.
It can be. If the game's tight, it can be. Like, the big the consequence of error and like the ability to swing the momentum over one tiny mistake just gets amplified so much in these win at all costs, do or die games. So Reece Walsh, he'll be having those conversations with Kevin Walters, but most importantly, it'll be Adam Reynolds. The conversations with Renner around that spine connection, what's needed. You look at the spines, and obviously it's a very youthful spine that Brisbane have, minus Adam Reynolds. So he'll be having those conversations to the lads, and I think it's his ship to steer. But yeah, I'm fancying the Broncos in this one.
So Broncos Penrith grand final for you then?
I hope so. I think it's the grand final we deserve.
Yeah.
That'll be
unbelievable.
Oh, man, the build up, the hype, with all due respect to Warriors Melbourne. Look, we can hype those two teams up, but I think for genuine quality of game and excitement around watching the Brisbane Broncos play the Penrith Panthers, that's going to be,
it's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah,
to be honest, if that's what the grand final looks like, I would maybe lean to the Broncos.
Me too.
Yeah.
I've got the Broncos winning the comp.
Yeah.
But, obviously there's 80 minutes to get through and all the ifs, buts, and, a week's a long time in football. Nathan Cleary hurt his finger. Actually said that on 360 last night. If I was the Melbourne Storm, I'd send Big Nelson to do the toss. And when he meets Nathan Cleary, just grab his hand and just squeeze it and be like, good luck out there, Nathan. And then they always shake hands when they meet.
Yeah.
Do the toss and then they shake hands when they go. So I'd go double whammy.
Yeah.
Why is Big Nelson doing the toss? He's there because those big, massive hands of his are just going to crunch the fingers, the poor old fingers of Nathan Cleary. I'd even go one right and then one left. Make sure you get it. Make sure you get it, because I don't know. Well, or I'd be doing a deep dive, find out which finger it is, and then make sure you just present that. Make sure Nelson's there waiting, and he puts his hand out first.
So then Nathan has to do the other hand.
Yeah.
What I would say is, what sort of punishment did you get in the field if you just went up and grabbed it in a tackle and twisted the finger? Like, because you can grab and twist the torso. Why couldn't you?
Well,
you grab and twist a finger. I'm taking him down by the finger, sir. What's wrong with that?
Well, if Nathan Cleary takes the line on, which he will, if you don't think those Melbourne players are fully aware of his sore finger.
Or maybe the sore finger is just a bit of ducks and drapes to take the attention away from the sore shoulder on Luai, and then instead of focusing their game plan on Luai's shoulder, they're focusing on Cleary's finger.
No, they'd make more of a song and dance about it if that was true.
Well,
I like your thinking, though.
We will see. That finals preview is all thanks to Tui's. As we said, how do you feel?
Feel like a Tui's?
Or two. And Jimmy, we got to move to a more serious issue. Less exciting, more of an off-field related issue. Val Holmes has copped his punishment for the selfie with the bag of powder. I think the Hello Sport boy said it was Omo, the washing powder. Just a little prank gone wrong with mates. But he got a 1-game suspension and fined $25,000, it looks like.
Yeah. Look, the timing's everything. Speed of punishment. Just get it done. Get it over. People stop talking about it. Like, it's done now. Let's try and move on and focus on the finals. I'm glad the NRL didn't let this one linger.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, good on them for that. I guess you brought up the point, Charlie, about how the times have changed, and obviously off-field indiscretions. Like, I guess a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, well, he's got away with it up there," versus what other people have done. You compare it to the Brandon Smith and Cameron
I think it's similar stuff.
Yeah.
Similar. They all copped a game, and they think they had to combine about 50 grand between the three of them.
But I guess when you compare it to Mitchell Pearce and like,
I think, to be honest, it shows how a guy like Todd Carney,
he
lost his NRL career, and I think that's what we were speaking about in the group chat. He did piss in his mouth, the bubbler, and okay, it's not the best look for me. I think holding a bag of powder in your mouth's worse than pissing in your mouth, personally.
Well, you've got a point.
Like, I think he should. I'm sure he's probably dealt with all that, but he had his own history of other misdemeanors and things like that. He didn't have the best reputation in the game, but I think he's in hindsight he's hard done by. Like, if you get,
I can remember that coming out and being like, oh, wow, like that's excessive.
And then you think about another player, Josh Dugan. Just went to go drive somewhere, lost his contract.
Yeah,
I know that's
good
different
old
as well.
COVID. Yeah, there's nuances to it and all that. But there'd be a lot of aggrieved players out there that think, oh well, in comparison. But I think this punishment is adequate.
Yep. That's fair enough. Well, Jimmy, the two teams that got knocked out last weekend, the Sydney Roosters and the Newcastle Knights. So I'll do a little season review for them and start with the Roosters. They got some great players coming next year. Dom Young, Spencer Leniu. One player that I didn't realise was off contract, and I think he's a guy that so many clubs should try and throw the hat in the ring and try and get, is Billy Smith. Not signed for the Roosters next year.
Isn't he?
Free agent.
Seriously?
Yeah, you think about the clubs like the Tigers, the Dragons, all these clubs that could go and throw some money at Billy Smith.
He's been awesome this year.
He was incredible to finish the year.
Wow.
Yeah. Broke his jaw, played through the game.
So as of November 1, he's...
Free agent, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that won't happen. That won't... I reckon by the time this goes out, that'll be sorted.
Well, the Roosters obviously want to keep him, but they're a bit hamstrung. And if you're Billy Smith... Would you want to stay at the Roosters when you've got, obviously, Suaalii leaving soon, but like next year they've got Dom Young, Daniel Tupu, Joey Manu, Suaalii. Like, you need an injury to make the team probably if you're Billy Smith, whereas you could go and be the strike centre on a team. Like, he's that good.
Yeah. Do you reckon Suaalii will play centres again next year though?
Well, I don't know, but then who's going to, if Suaalii's on the wing, who's missing out? You're not going to have, you don't buy Dom Young.
Yeah, Dom Young's playing.
He's playing. Obviously, Daniel Tupu,
yeah,
he's probably going to get first crack because of his reputation at the Roosters and how good he's been for so many years for them.
Yeah, wow, that's
like if I was Shane Flanagan, I'd be trying to get a guy.
Mate, 100%, you'd be chasing him. I can't believe it.
I can't believe no club signed him.
No, me either.
Well, I guess it's because he was injured, wasn't really making the team, out of sight, out of mind, just had a incredible background to the year.
I know what you're saying. But they have had that tactic before, the Roosters. I remember when Ryan Hall came over, he'd signed, then he got injured, then they went and signed Brett Morris, who was looking for a home. And then they had that predicament there of sort of, 3 genuine wingers that couldn't all fit in. So, but they found a way to sort of make that work.
And he might feel he owes the Roosters as well because he's had so many injury troubles and it's his boyhood club and he wants to stay there. Because I know he's a local Eastern Suburbs kid as well.
Yeah. You'd be mad not to want to keep him.
Yeah. But that's one issue they've got to deal with through the off-season. But, I mean, the big thing around them is they started the year as one of the premiership favourites and then had that shocking run. I think they were, 14th or something with about 8 rounds to go. And they came home, they finished so strong, but they made the 8. They got that win against the Sharks where really everything was against them. They nearly went to Melbourne and won. They had that game in their hands and just lost it. I can't really tell if it's a success or a failure. Like, obviously the goalposts change as the season goes on, but
you're right there, Charles. You know what? I think it's a season of regret rather than success or failure. It's a season of well, if we actually applied ourselves from the beginning, we would have been a top 14. I think you look back to the start of the season, firstly, Brandon Smith comes in, a new team, a new city. He took some time to adjust, and then with the injuries and whatnot that he picked up, we saw what a difference he made when he came back. Even on a guy like Tedesco, I thought he started the season, he looked tired, just from the whether it was from the World Cup or back-to-back big seasons. I hazard a guess that the people at the Roosters would wish all this criticism from James Tedesco would have happened after round one, because ever since he copped all that crap for he shouldn't be in the Origin team anymore, he went away. He had that week away in Byron Bay, and then like he's reignited his form.
Yeah, and how good a call was it to let him go to Byron, or to have him go to Byron Bay as well?
Nonsense. But he's just been sensational since he's come back. It's the James Tedesco of old. Whether or not that was that refresh or that, I'm shut everyone up here. I'm a bit sick of people telling me I shouldn't be playing for my, or I should be moved from fullback for my club, not be the captain and fullback for my state. His response has been sensational. So the Roosters need to channel that as they move forward into next year. I think there's plenty of reasons to be optimistic. Like you say, the two signings, Lenu, Dominic Young. I don't think the player acquisition is just over yet either. You know, talks of Luke Thompson in the middle coming. And even then, when you look at how they finished the season, they go down to Melbourne and lose last play of the game. I think I counted 7 first grade regulars that were missing in action for that game. You know, if they hit that run of form and they're all fit, then it's a different story come finals. I think they beat Melbourne, and it's a tough ask to go to Penrith, but they were on a roll. And I'm not going to say that they beat them, but if everybody, you know, you look at all the teams in contention, you need your best 17 or close to on the field come finals time. Roosters didn't have that. Yet they still give it a red hot shake.
They had like all their outside backs missing and one of their backup outside backs missing as well.
Yeah,
it's like
Connor Watson missing, Tupanua missing, Hargreaves missing. You know, even when they
had brought in Lodge mid-year, then they moved him on. Like
you look at the ongoing Sam Walker issue at the start of the season. He had some teething problems this year, but then came back and was sensational. You know, they were primed for finals. They probably left their run a tad late, but then injuries got them in the end. Like that run comes early. I still don't think they make top 4. But had they have all been fit at the right time of the season, I think they're playing this week.
Yeah. I think next year they're going to be contenders. I think they've just got to start that season a bit better. It's 2 years in a row now where they've started the year a bit slow. It's kind of like the opposite. When you were at the Dragons, you guys would start the year on fire and then taper off. Like, is it just the way that the coach is preparing preseason? Like, what makes a team come out of the blocks hard and other teams, you know, come out slow?
I don't know. Yeah. I genuinely can't think of a intelligent answer for that. Sometimes it just is.
It's just a vibe.
Just a vibe, Charlie. But make no mistake, I think I don't think the Roosters would view the season as a success or as a failure. I think it's one of regret.
Yeah. Well, the Newcastle Knights, Jimmy, they are losing Lachlan Fitzgibbon, Lockie Miller, and Dominic Young, which is it's a few of their key players they are losing. Yeah. It's a couple of guys off, but they won this incredible run to end the year, 10 wins in a row, all sort of centered around Kalen Ponga and him coming back to full health and just dominating the game. I think he probably proved a lot of the doubters around him wrong, that he can be the best player on a premiership contender. But this year, you'd have to say is a big success for them.
Yeah, I agree, Charlie. And, you know, even you take yourself back to the start of the season, I don't think many people had them making the 8. Certainly not after a couple of rounds and when Adam O'Brien was under pressure. And I think with Kalen Ponga, he's proved what he's capable of. He just needs to continue to do it and over the course of a full season. You know, don't be reliant on that run late in the piece. Set themselves up in a better position because they did have a few things go for them in that run, but they just can't afford to do that. And their biggest issue now is maintaining. Okay, you've had a taste of what this looks like, lads. You know the city behind you. What final you got to a place where you want to be in terms of playing finals, but the biggest issue that they have is the replacement of Dominic Young. They've signed 2 lads from England, Kai Pierce-Paul and Will Price, who'll be sensational. Really looking forward to seeing how they integrate themselves into the NRL. 2 of the best young up and coming talent in England. So watch out for them. But who finishes off those tries? Dom Young, arguably the best finisher in the NRL at the current moment. Like, I wonder whoever they bring in. Obviously, Greg Margie on the other side's a pretty decent finisher as well. But Dom Young on the right, like, he'll finish tries that most others don't. And when you're getting 5 or 6 of them a year, it's really difficult to replace and find those points.
Because I reckon he's up there with Jason Saar as one of the fastest players in the game. Dom
rapid.
Young. And like
Absolutely
a lot
rapid.
of those tries were like Ponga finds a little bit of space, shifts it on the outside to Dom Young, and then he just blasts the other winger.
Yeah.
Like, it's, you can't really replace that unless you go and get like a Jason Saab or a player like that.
Even there's talk of Corey Oates, but they're completely
not the same, is it though?
Oates will get you out of trouble all day, but he's not gonna burn someone on the outside for pure speed, or he's a good finisher, but not in the same league as Dominic Young.
No, who's on Dom Young's side centres wise? It's not bad. Best is on Marzu's side, isn't he?
Yes. So he's gay guy.
Gay guy, of course. Yep. But I mean, they've got Adam O'Brien. He's going to sign a 2-year deal. Ponga's locked in long term. Frizzell, I think, signed an extension this year.
Yes,
he's locked in long term. So they've got a lot of their key players there. Jaden Brayley, we've forgotten about him.
Yes.
We completely forget about him because he's had a horrid run with injuries the last couple of years.
Even Hastings has had a crappy run with injuries.
100%
as well.
he has. But you bring a guy like Brayley back into that team, it just adds another dimension. Phoenix Crosland has grown as a player.
Well, their spine next year could be Brayley, Hastings, Price, Ponga. Like, that's starting to look a little bit more like a top 4 spine.
Yeah, and then Crossland is like a really top level 14.
Yeah.
And then Gamble, you've got Gamble there as depth as well you can bring in, as long as he avoids Willie Mason during the off-season.
Yes.
So next year, you think they're going to go all right?
I do, yeah. There's plenty to like about them. It's just applying that consistent football across a full year to give them. And hey, look, Adam O'Brien and his staff, Brian McDermott, a few others up there, they'll be going over it with a fine-tooth comb, but easy to say, but bloody hell, it's difficult to do.
So Rockbusters then, Jimmy, to finish the show, you've just reminded listeners of a clue. I obviously got the other one, testing you, but what's the clue for everyone at home?
Hang on, let me just double check. I need to make sure I get this right because I don't want to give away the answer.
It was Dwayne Johnson related.
Yeah, that's right. It was. Dwayne Johnson is asked what a cherry is. He thinks about it and then gets the answer wrong.
Right. So it's obviously not Bronson cherry then, is it? Because would be too obvious.
Well, let's not talk about it to the listeners.
Yeah. Okay. And then that's Byron t-shirt up for grabs as well.
Yeah.
Jimmy's wearing. I'm not wearing one, so I
trust the Byron listeners to
get this one. Okay. Well, good luck to everybody at home.
All right. Thanks for listening to Midweek Matters. Thankfully, Charlie isn't going anywhere. He's staying in this country. He's got a couple of busy trips. But we'll
going to Brisbane Saturday. That'll be fun.
I'll be at Brisbane with him, but no doubt we'll hear all about all the things he's got to do because he'll be flapping.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. Enjoy the finals, everyone. Plenty to be looking forward to. And, make sure you get ready for what's going to take over Midweek Matters.
It's going to be good.
Next week we're on finals preview, and then the Rugby League not so roundtable begins.
Yeah, can't wait for it.
All right, cheers guys.